Hello everyone, welcome to A Clear Perspective. I'm Serene. On Wednesday, the Women's Tennis Association WTA has announced an immediate suspension of all tournaments in China, including Hong Kong, in response to Beijing's silencing of sexual assault allegations made by Chinese tennis star Peng Shuai against Zhang Gaoli, former Chinese vice premier. In a statement released Wednesday, WTA chairman and CEO Steve Simon said the decision was based on the unacceptable response of Chinese officials in the Me Too scandal, including rushing to censor Peng Shuai's allegations and ignoring calls for a full and transparent investigation. All the Chinese media in mainland China did not mention anything about this news. However, Hu Xijin, the editor-in-chief of CCP Mouthpiece, the Global Times, tweeted that WTA is coercing Peng Shuai to support the West's attack on Chinese system. They are depriving Peng Shuai's freedom of expression, demanding that her description of her current situation must meet their expectation. China expert Gordon Chang responded to Hu Xijin's tweet as hideous. He wrote, China's regime, which silenced Peng Shuai and disappeared her, is now claiming that the WTA, which has no access to her, is depriving the tennis star of her freedom to speak. Hideous. Next, let's turn to the tensions in the Taiwan Strait. On Wednesday, former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, made a surprising, shocking statement and publicly warned Xi Jinping. On the forum hosted by Taiwan, Abe talked about the military threat of the Chinese Communist Party, noting that in the past 30 years, its military spending has skyrocketed 42 times and has exceeded Japan's defense spending 4 times. It is also estimated that in the next 30 years, CCP's military spending will increase at least 7% per year, which makes it the most important and critical time for the world. Abe said that during his tenure as Prime Minister, he reminded Xi Jinping every time they met. If the CCP were to invade Taiwan, it would pose a great danger to Japan's territory. Japan would not allow that to happen. Abe added, a Taiwan emergency is a Japanese emergency, and therefore an emergency for the Japan-US alliance. People in Beijing, President Xi Jinping in particular, should never have a misunderstanding in recognizing this. He called on Japan, Taiwan, and all the people who believe in democracy need to keep urging Xi Jinping and other CCP leaders repeatedly not to step onto a wrong path. In his words, a military adventure would be the path to economic suicide. Abe mentioned Xi Jinping by name 3 times in his speech. Later, CCP Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin criticized Abe at a press conference on Wednesday that Abe talked nonsense, pointed fingers at Taiwan issues, and made irresponsible remarks on China's internal affairs. He said, anyone who dares to repeat militarism and challenge the bottom line of the Chinese people would surely be shattered in the face. In my opinion, as a mature and sophisticated politician, Abe always speaks and acts cautiously. This time he said so. It implies that he had communicated and reached a consensus with top officials in Japan and the United States beforehand. Abe took the opportunity to explicitly warn Xi Jinping and give Taiwan assurance. Lastly, I want to talk about Dorsey's resignation. On Monday, November 29th, the co-founder and the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, tweeted that, not sure anyone has heard, but I resigned from Twitter. He also posted his resignation letter. Why did Dorsey resign? In March 2006, Dorsey and the 3 other co-founders started the social media company called Twitter. Since then, Dorsey came into the spotlight. He removed his nose ring and put on suits to cover his tattoos. In 2007, there were only 400,000 tweets posted per quarter, but it grew rapidly to 100 million tweets per quarter in 2008. But in 2008, Dorsey was forced to step down. In 2015, Dorsey made a comeback and regained the position as Twitter's CEO. Twitter is now one of the most influential social media platforms in the world. Dorsey, who is now 45, is also the CEO of a business payment company, Square. The first possible reason behind Dorsey's resignation from Twitter is the business's underperformance in the past year. On October 26, Twitter released its financial results for Q3. Its Q3 revenue totaled $1.28 billion, an increase of 37% over last year. But this Q3's net loss was $537 million. In 2020's Q3, there was a net gain of $29 million in the same period. Q3 also represented diluted earnings per share of negative $0.67, which in Q3 2020, the diluted earnings per share was $0.04. Compared to other big tech companies such as Google, Facebook, and Apple, Twitter has been far behind in stock performance over the past 3 years. Twitter's stock price is currently around $45. It is much lower than Google's $2,900, Facebook's $338, and Apple's $160. As a social media company, Twitter's user grows slowly. According to the Q3 financial report, Twitter's daily active user increased by 13% to 211 million, but lower than expected. In the United States, Twitter's home base, the number of users increased by only 1 million, a decrease of 3% from the same period of last year. In the past months, Twitter's stock price was falling. By the time Dorsey resigned, it had fallen to $45, a 16.9% decline. Another reason for Dorsey's step down that Wall Street Journal and other mainstream media did not mention may be related to President Trump. Trump's Twitter account was blocked on January 21st this year, and its 88.7 million followers were gone. It is undoubtedly a huge loss for Twitter. Former President Trump launched his own social media platform to counter big tech companies at the end of October. Twitter, which ranks at the bottom of the tech giants, is obviously under great pressure. Twitter's stock price has fluctuated in the past 10 months and is now back to square one. More importantly, deactivating Trump's account has given Twitter and Dorsey a bad name. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert tweeted after hearing rumors of Dorsey's resignation. Quote, "Jack Dorsey is rumored to be stepping down as Twitter's CEO. Great, he has been a disaster." Jason Miller, CEO of the conservative social media site Getter, said, "Dorsey's strangling of free expression is why Getter needs to exist." In fact, more than 80 million Trump supporters have already moved away from Twitter, so Dorsey has become a liability to Twitter. This may be the real reason why Twitter's board members forced Dorsey to resign. They hope to bring fresh air to Twitter by replacing the CEO. So, what kind of person is Parag Agrawal, the new CEO of Twitter? Agrawal is an Indian-born American. He joined Twitter as a software engineer in 2011, and he was promoted as Twitter's CTO in 2017. Dorsey speaks highly of Agrawal, saying, "He has been my choice for some time given how deeply he understands the company and its needs." According to the Daily Mail, people who celebrated Dorsey's departure are likely to be very disappointed with his replacement, as Agrawal implied in an interview last year he would ignore the First Amendment. In an interview with MIT Technology Review in November 2020, Agrawal was asked the following. You are trying to combat misinformation. You also want to protect free speech as a core value, and also in the US as the First Amendment. How do you balance those two? Agrawal responded, "Our role is not to be bound by the First Amendment, but our role is to serve a healthy public conversation." He also said, "The kinds of things that we do about this is focus less on thinking about free speech, but thinking about how the times have changed." So, we should not pin our hopes on the company's CEO to protect our freedom of speech. Rather, it depends on each individual to defend our freedom of speech and the constitutional rights. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time.